Hey, everybody. So, welcome back to another episode of the Real Talk Uncensored podcast. I'm your host, August Witt, and our guest today is Tamra Weeks. Tamra, how are you doing today?
I'm okay. Uh, kind of on a little bit of a roller coaster, but
It's a bit of a day.
yeah,
Gotcha.
just internally.
Gotcha.
Um, I struggle a lot with I don't know. I guess opening up to people. That's one of the complaints that the guy I'm talking to kind of has is I don't really, my whole life I've just kind of done things on my own. I just do my own
Mm.
struggles because I mean, what's the point?
Yeah.
Everybody leaves, so it doesn't matter.
You've been independent your whole life,
Independent
so
as
it's hard to just to connect with other people because you've been so independent, right?
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's
Right.
definitely it's definitely good to be independent. Like I like myself, I'm independent too. I love to do things on my own and kind of learn from those experiences. It takes you far, but I can definitely see how not opening up to people can cause some issues.
Yeah,
Mm. Where to get started, the first thing I want to ask you is just kind of just tell me a little bit about yourself, kind of what your story is, kind of how you ended up at the Fountain of Youth.
okay. Well, I don't know where to start. Where do you want me to start?
Wherever you want to start, it's your story.
Um, okay. Well, as a child, I grew up with, in an abusive home. My mother was an addict. I had to raise myself and my little brother. I mean, not all the time because my little brother he bounced back and forth between with us and his dad, but like there were times where my mom would be gone for like weeks at a time and we didn't have any food in the house. How DHS never got involved, I don't know.
Yeah.
But or when me and my mom we were in Florida and we'd bounce around from motel rooms and she'd lock herself in the bathroom for hours on end and telling me that she's making me a birthday present, but whatever. So I had to
Yeah.
fend for myself a lot. Um, I don't know. Growing up with an addict as a parent, I learned a lot of what to do and what not to do. I think that's part of why I'm so independent now, is because, I just always had to take care of myself. I always had to do everything on my own. I didn't really have anybody in my life that I could really count on.
Mhm.
You know, my dad was never around, and when he was around, that just wasn't great.
Yeah.
Um, okay, how I ended up at the Fountain of Youth. Well, I had this boyfriend, and my God, I don't know, he just swept me away. I had just lost my kids. My house got raided. I was facing some prison time, and he went with me. We ran off to Texas together to smuggle Mexicans. I got caught doing that, but no charges because, it was during COVID. If you got caught the first time, they just kind of let you go. They did interrogate me for like 6 hours.
Wow.
I gave the FBI some, attitude because, whatever.
It's a
But,
story right there.
huh?
That's a story right there.
Oh, that's a whole story. The cartel held him in a hotel room for hours until the paperwork came back that I wasn't a snitch. They had him at gunpoint in the
Oh,
hotel room.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was crazy. He stayed with me after that, and we just kind of ran around and making a lot of mistakes,
Mm.
doing a lot of making a lot of bad choices, and um, how I ended up with the Fountain of Youth was I ended up going to prison because he strangled me almost to death with this
Mm.
shotgun. And he pointed it at my head and he told me he was going to blow my head off.
Jesus.
And I stabbed him to get him off of me. The cops got called, and since I was a felon, They arrested me and charged me for felon in possession of a firearm and for stabbing him. I guess Iowa doesn't have any laws, you know. It's
Self-defense.
yeah, it's ridiculous. It really is. Like I needed prison. It wasn't what I wanted, but it was definitely what I needed because, you know, if I hadn't gone there, I would have never met Caprice and Grant and, you know, really sat down and thought about my life and thought about my choices and where I want to go and what I want to do with myself. Like, I would have probably been dead because I was on a suicide mission. Jordan was in jail. I was on the run. My kids were gone. I didn't care anymore.
You're in a crazy place.
Yeah,
Constantly.
like, I was purposefully shooting up meth that I knew was laced with fentanyl, trying to die, like actively trying, and I've been revived twice. I mean, obviously, I'm here for a reason now. Like, prison wasn't what I wanted, but it was definitely what I needed. I'm really glad I went. I'm really glad, like, it saved my life.
So when you went to prison, what forced you to want to change?
Well, at first, when I went to prison, I was like, fuck that. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to get off a paper and it's all going to be great and I'm just going to go out and I'm going to do the same thing. But then, like, as time went on, you know, like, they terminated my rights to my kids while I was in there. Jordan, the guy I went to prison for, he left me and ran off and got married and had a baby, and, you know, good for him. I'm glad he's getting everything he wanted out of his life and he's doing really well, I assume. I don't know because I don't talk to him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I hope so. I want good things for him. He's a good guy as long as his head is on his shoulders. And I don't know. I just hope he's doing okay. But, like, you know, he left and doing what's best for him. And, I mean, I can't hate on him for that. But what started me thinking was, you know, they terminated my rights to my kids. My kids know who I am. My kids love me. And eventually they're going to come looking for me. And what are they going to find? And that's where I was thinking, like, I don't want to get out and do the same thing. They're going to find me in a gutter with a needle hanging out of my arm. That's not okay. So, you know, I really sat back and thought about my choices and thought about the things that I was doing. And it's obviously not working for me because I just keep doing the same thing and ending up in the same place. And it's stressful. I get very stressed very easily. Like, over the smallest things, like I can't find my shoes and I gotta leave for work. Like, I get so stressed out. Tiny little things. So you add drugs into the mix, you add the party life, you add all of this stuff, being on the run, and like it's not healthy.
It puts you in a spot where there's there's never gonna be anything good that comes out of all that.
No, and I'm just gonna keep going back to prison. And who wants that?
Yeah.
Who wants to keep doing this? And I commend anybody who gets clean and sober and stays that way because it is hard. It's a struggle all on its own. And I don't want to say I feel bad for the people who are still struggling, but I hope they find their way because, you know, everyone deserves a good life.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
I mean, and for you, like, it was the motivation of your kids, and you wanted them to see you in the best possible way that
Right.
you can be.
Right. And the Fountain of Youth has helped me. Like, I made it through the halfway house in 3 months. I have an apartment. They helped me, you know, find a landlord that would actually rent to me because, you know, I'm a 10-time felon. Like, they look at my record, and if they don't sit down and talk to me and know what happened, it looks bad.
Yeah.
My record is 6 pages long. That's ridiculous. Like, I don't know. They helped me find somebody who was willing to work with me, and thank God. You know, they've been super supportive. I've never had, like, a support system in my life. You know, like I said earlier, I just kind of did everything on my own. Like, I never relied on anybody because what's the point if everyone's just going to leave anyway? Like, you never rely on anybody for anything because they're just going to let you down. As Tyler says, expectations are just premeditated resentments. He says that all the time. And I'm finding, as I sit back and I think about it, it's true. Don't expect things out of people. But they're helping me. They helped me get into NICC to go for culinary arts. I got out of prison, and 4 days later, I had a job because they helped me get in at Caroline's, and I love my job.
That's awesome.
Cooking makes people happy. Food makes people happy, and it makes me happy to be a part of that. And I just love to cook anyway.
Yeah. I like to cook too. I've been a cook for 3 years now, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And Caroline's, they really give you a freedom to be creative. Like with quiches, basically you make the dough and you make the custard, but what you put into the quiche, you got to come up with.
Oh, really?
So I just made a quiche with I made maple brown sugar bacon. And I threw that in with some onions and mushrooms and spinach and Swiss cheese.
Sounds pretty good.
Oh, it's been selling like hotcakes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best part about a job is when the job gives you opportunity to grow. I mean, that's why I love being here at the Fountain Youth because I'm able to do this, and I'm just an intern.
Right.
And it's an amazing thing when you're able to push yourself. And I have a question for you too. So if you didn't come across the Fountain of Youth in prison, where do you think you would be today? Do you think you still would have kept on pushing yourself to be the best version of yourself, and it would have been a little bit harder?
It would have been a lot harder.
Gotcha.
I don't want to say I need something to keep my focus, and to kind of give me tunnel vision, but I do. I need a structure. I need all of these things to keep my head on straight until I get used to it. You know what I mean? Like if they had just let me loose,
you would have been just right back to doing what you were doing.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be as strong as I am now. Like I don't know, they give me a lot of perspective, a lot of things to think about. They're real talks. They make you think. And I mean, I don't always talk during real talk, but I always leave thinking about things and associating it into my life. And it's funny because, I'm a graduate of Partners in Change. And it's funny because almost every time I meet up with Grant, we're talking about something and it ends up tying into the subject for real talk.
I mean, that's the best part right there. How you I mean, that's so awesome to hear. Yeah. That makes me so happy.
Right. And I don't know. It's just been very valuable to me for my growth and I honestly don't think I would be in the best state of mind because while I was in prison, we were in real talk. And when all of this stuff started happening, I was part of the Fountain of Youth. And, when all of this stuff started happening, when they terminated my rights to my kids, the whole thing with Jordan, we were, I mean, I had people in there I could talk to, but they didn't know me. I mean, Caprice and Grant didn't know me either, but I don't know why it was different talking to them than talking to the other inmates. Because the other inmates were like, oh, fuck that. Show up at his house and beat the fuck out of her. No, that's what's that going to do? What's that going to do?
It's other people just giving you advice. That's not good advice. It's bad advice.
Right, exactly. I mean, I love the girls for it. Thanks for having my back. I appreciate it. But I don't know. Sorry for swearing.
It's all good.
I guess like a sailor.
No
a sailor.
Say whatever you want on here. It's real.
Yeah, uncensored.
Exactly.
But I don't know. I was in prison for 14 months, but I got incarcerated so consistently. I went to four different counties before I ended up going to prison. I went to the halfway house. They ended up revoking me there. I got arrested August 29th, 2021, and I didn't get out until October 16th of 2023.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's a good long,
It's a long time for sure.
yeah. So, I mean, I even count the halfway house as being incarcerated because you still have to go back there. You still have to, like, you're not free.
Yeah, you're not free yet. You're still in the I mean,
Right,
it's halfway. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
exactly. So, I mean, I was in the facility in November and December. They arrested me there on my birthday.
Hmm.
They know me so well in the jail that when I showed up, they were like, "Hey, Tamara, happy birthday!" I was like, "Hey,
That's
thanks. Go fuck yourself."
that's kind of funny.
I was just
So,
like, "Oh God!" But my first report was for threatening to stab a girl in the eye with a pen. Um, then they caught me talking to Jordan because we were still together at that point, but he was in the West Union facility and I was here, and I mean, we were making it work. And then they took my kids from my mom, and then he got arrested, and I got high, and I dropped 2 dirty UAs. And Heidi was like, "Nope, I'm sick of your shit, Tamara. You're going." And I was like, "Okay."
you gotta log in.
Mhm.
So, since since that time when you were that person who stabbed somebody stabbed somebody with a pen or something, how has your mindset changed from that Tamara to the Tamara that you are today?
I mean, I've always had coping skills, but I never really like utilized them. Like, um, music is a big thing.
Mhm.
I can't have headphones in the halfway house.
Yeah.
I
I
can't
get
have
that.
headphones in prison.
Mhm.
So, you have to like learn how to like deal with yourself. And I sat in my room a lot, reflecting and kind of. So now I get angry. Sometimes I let things slip and I don't mean to, but like headphones. I do headphones a lot. Which is why when I lost my other one, I immediately went and got because it's been a lifesaver. People do not understand how many times me having headphones has saved their life.
Yeah, I get that in
um,
a sense.
but I don't know, like coping skills. Meditation. I haven't been doing that near as much as I should, but yoga, it's
Mm.
great. Also, something I have not been doing as much as I should be.
It,
But
yeah, it's kind of funny that you say that because I think like people push that so often where you should do some meditation, you should do some yoga, you should do some reflecting, and I mean ever since I was a kid, I remember people saying that, and it's funny because it does work, you know,
it does.
uh, it helps you control yourself, it helps you understand yourself, I think in some ways it kind of makes your life little bit easier because
Hmm.
you're able to think things through even more. But it's funny because there's so many people out there who like it's the people that should do it that don't do it.
Right.
Right. So what do you like? What would you say to somebody who was in your exact shoes? And I mean, like you didn't do that during then. So how would you convince somebody to do it now? You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't do it near as much as I should, but I know that it works.
Yeah.
I know that it's helpful. I've struggled with anger issues my whole life. I don't know. I feel like that's part of like I'm that way because of the way I grew up, and I witnessed like my mom being beat up all the time, and then you grow up and then you think that's normal, and that's
Yeah.
not okay. But I mean, you would advice I would give somebody: don't waste your time with anger management. I've done that 4 times. It just doesn't help.
Hmm.
Um, I don't understand. I don't know how I would convince somebody because like I have a really hard time like explaining things to people.
Yeah.
It's showing them really that
That it does work and that it can work.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you're the model for it.
Oh, say that, but
You know, can
I
be.
mean, I try.
Yeah. Which is I mean that's what counts right there.
Right. I mean, you can't do something if you don't try first, right?
Yeah.
And don't give up on it. Like Never give up.
And that's what Caprice always says.
I'm a fighter.
Yeah, you gotta be.
Yeah.
In this world, you gotta be. So through everything that's happened in your life, what's some main like lessons that you've really learned in not not only about life but about yourself, and that things that things that you can give somebody else to pass on.
Don't be too hard on yourself. I'm being a hypocrite right there because no one is harder on me than I am on myself. Nobody can say anything to me that I haven't already said to myself. But don't be too hard on yourself. It just doesn't get you anywhere. Like, always like stay positive to yourself and build yourself up because you're, despite everything that has happened to you and the things that you have done or whatever the case may be, you're worth it. You deserve a good life. I call myself a piece of shit all the time.
I can't do that. That's not very positive.
Well, I mean, let's face the facts here, okay? So my kids got taken from me March 5th of 2020. They raided my house. It was insane. They took a 55-gallon garbage bag of just paraphernalia out of my house. I'm so lucky I'm not sitting in the feds for life right now. But they took my kids from me, and then COVID hit, and then I couldn't see them, and like it just spiraled out of control. It was terrible. I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, okay. It just spiraled out of control, and then I met Jordan, and I'm gonna keep it real here. Like, I call myself a piece of shit all the time because instead of getting my shit together and getting sober and fighting for them. And, you know what I did? I sat around getting high, chasing this man all over the state of Iowa for what? Just to get beat the fuck up all the time. Like, he's broke my toe. He broke my eye socket. Like, almost killed me with the shotgun. I had it pointed at my head. Like, so I traded my kids in for him. And that's unacceptable.
And that makes sense, like why you would feel that way. It really does.
Yeah,
it's so hard to look back and you have all these regrets. It's actually one of my questions. What regrets do you have in life?
That's my biggest one.
And
I don't regret Jordan, but I regret the choices that I made and what I lost because of it. Like, they terminated my rights to my kids. Legally, I can't see them until they're 18. Like, do you know, I have 3. All 3 of them gone.
It's the hardest burden to bear.
My oldest will be 16. I'm over the big hump there. Like, I only have a couple years left. She knows who I am. She actually lives here in town. Weird that I've never run into her. I've run into the woman who adopted her, but she's never been there with her.
Huh.
Weird. But she knows who I am. And actually, when I got out of prison and I got into my old Facebook account, there was a message from October 15th of 2020 that said, hey, I don't know how I didn't see this message, but I know exactly what I was doing at the time. And I was dealing with Jordan, and I was probably sitting in my house shooting up meth and doing the most. And I think that was around the time that me and him were doing like a half an ounce in like 2-3 days. So like I was out there. So I'm really glad I didn't see this message because I would have responded, and then the relationship, it would have just been detrimental because what is she gonna find? We go back to that. What is she gonna find? So I got out of prison and I logged into my old Facebook and I'm going through my message requests and I see that message. It says, hey, did you have a baby in 2008? Hello, my name is Claudia. I'm your daughter.
I remember when you saw that message, actually. I was out there with you.
Yeah, the look on my face, like, what? So she knows who I am. the fact that she reached out tells me that she wants a relationship, and again, that goes back to what is she going to find? So there's my motivation for, staying clean, keeping my head on my shoulders. I want to do something with my life. I don't want to just sit around and, I want them to be proud of what they find. I regret because, I should have been doing this. I should have been doing all of this for them when I had the chance. And it makes I feel like a piece of shit because now that they're gone, I decide to find the motivation. Like that's not acceptable.
It is. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what the burden of that is and how that feels. But I can say that I think the people. I mean, just comparing to Caprice in a way, right? The man has done. He's been in and out of prison for 30 years. You know his story, and he's done what he has today, and that's amazing. And I think it's because of something like that why he doesn't call himself a piece of shit in the sense of I think he did two things. I think one, the person who he used to be, I think there's a little bit of understanding that similar to your story, he grew up in terrible shit and it made him who he was. So I think it's partly that it's forgiving yourself in the sense of it's not necessarily your fault that happened. And that's part of it.
But it is my fault, and I'll take full responsibility,
and
I will take full accountability. Like I had the chance to do it. They gave me every opportunity. They gave me 2 years to get my shit together, and I just didn't.
Exactly, and that's the other part is that you can say everything about the person that you were is probably because of what you grew up with.
Right.
And then you got to take responsibility for that, and then
I'm not gonna make excuses. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and make excuses. Oh, well, my parents were addicts and all this and all that. No, because I made that choice. Yeah. Before that happened, I was sober for 7 years, so I knew I could do it, but I just didn't. Yeah. I'm not gonna sit here and make excuses. I made the conscious decision to do that. And that's on me. Nobody has to hold that burden but me. I used to tell Jordan all the time, you're a piece of shit. Why aren't you helping me? Blah, blah, blah. But that wasn't on him. That's not his fault. And I shouldn't have laid that at his door. But I did.
I mean, that, and the second part of that is taking responsibility, then also acting on it. Knowing that everything that you did is the old you. I mean, that's what Caprice always talks about, is saying how it's the old him, and that he decided to be that change. And it's you can't call yourself a piece of shit because then as you continue to put yourself down. Think of yourself as somebody who's been through it all, and now you can go out and take what you learned from that and help other people, and become the best role model for your kids out there because you can do it.
Yeah.
You keep telling yourself you're accountable, you're independent, you're capable. What's stopping you from being the best version of yourself for your kids and no one calling yourself a piece of shit because you've shown them that you're no longer that person.
Right.
Once you separate yourself from that completely.
And I'm working on it every day. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's a struggle, but I'm working on it every day. And I will never be done working on it. I will never be done working on it. We were talking about, what was the real talk that we had about being, what was the word? Satisfied with your life. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
So he said the definition of satisfied was, what was it? The definition of satisfied was
I don't remember exactly what
content.
Content.
Yeah. So I went home and Tyler came home with me and we were sitting there talking about how I don't feel that the definition of satisfied should be content, because those are two very different things to me. So content is, I don't necessarily have everything that I want in life, but I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable where I'm at. I'm okay. you know? Satisfied,
Gotcha.
I will never be 100% satisfied with my life. I will never be, because like when it goes back to my kids, you know, like when they come and find me, you know, sure, I'll have a relationship or whatever may happen, you know, I will never be, but I will never be satisfied because I wasn't a part of their life. I wasn't the one doing everything that a parent should be doing because, you know, I fucked it off. That's on me. I will never be satisfied. I didn't get to watch them lose their first teeth. I didn't get to help them ride their bike. I didn't go to all of my daughters in ice skating right now. My son's doing wrestling, like, and I wasn't there for any of that. Like, I didn't get to watch them grow up. I didn't help raise them. I didn't do all of these things. So in my mind, I will never be satisfied because
Because you could have done better.
I could have done better.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
I mean, that's a really interesting way to like to look at content and satisfied. I mean, and like it makes sense what you're saying, and how you define them and how that adds up. To me, like I mean, I do think of them as synonyms, and that they mean the same thing. Because content to me is like you're content, like you're content with life. You're not wanting more because you've already done more.
Right.
You put in the hard work, so now that you're content. And similar to satisfied in that sense too. And
Satisfied to me is like
yeah,
being fulfilled.
yeah,
And I will never, I'll always have that hole. I'll always have that piece missing.
it's a motivation in a way though, right?
Yeah.
Like you really like
It gives me drive
looking. Yeah, you know that you
because
can.
I could have done better. So now I'm going to do better.
Yeah.
I just beat myself up because I could have done this sooner and I didn't.
Yeah, but you can't beat yourself up for that though, because now you are doing it. You can't change the past. You can only change the future.
You're right, but I'll always beat myself up for it because, like, they deserve better out of me.
Yeah.
I deserve better out of me. Anybody that I encounter deserves a better version of me, and I'm working on it every day.
Yeah.
I'm trying. Like I said, some days are a struggle. I get in my depression modes and, like, I just don't want to talk to anybody about it because I don't want to bring anybody down. I don't want to burden anybody. I don't. And like I said before, I'm independent. I'm used to doing this by myself. You know, maybe I should just start opening up more, but I just.
I mean that's it right there. That if you want to do something, you just got to do it.
Right.
You got to open up because your body's telling yourself that it should open up. I mean that's what the Found Youth preaches here. I mean,
Right.
one, that we're never gonna leave because you were saying how people leave. Found Youth won't do that.
Right.
Won't leave ever.
And I absolutely love you guys for it. I'm so glad that I found Caprice and Grant. I'm so glad that I signed up to, you know, be a part of Fountain of Youth when they set out the sign up sheets. I was one of the first ones to sign up. Like, oh, it's out of Dubuque. I know about this place. You know, I'm gonna check it out and see what's up. And what's this month is March. It's been about a year now I've been involved. Caprice won't give me my 1 year pin because I have to be in this room. But I don't feel like that. Like, it should count.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it should count because I was a part of it. I never missed. I did miss yesterday, but I was just so exhausted. And Grant let me out of our meeting early to take a nap, and that just ended up not happening. I went back, and Caprice was, hey, can you help me carry this stuff up? And then someone called me and said, hey, can you meet me? And they ended up not being there, and I was so mad.
You never know what's going to happen on a day-to-day.
Yeah, and then I came home, and there was a couch there, and I called Tyler. I'm like, hey, can you help me bring in this couch? And we brought it in, and I was just out. I'm exhausted. I had been up since 4:30 in the morning. I went in on my day off. And I never stop moving. Because when I stop moving, or I don't have my music, or I'm not sitting there watching TV or playing a video game, that's when this starts happening.
Yeah, you get the bad thoughts.
Yep.
I mean,
So I'm always doing something. I'm always on the move. I can't just sit. I hate being by myself for that reason.
you think that being by yourself for a long enough time would help you in the sense of like you'd be able to face the demons that you're not facing?
Yeah, maybe.
It's something to think about. Just my personal experience.
Sometimes I'm scared of what they'll say when they start talking back to me.
They're just thoughts, though.
Yeah, no, but thoughts are powerful.
They are powerful, but they're also powerful to be good, to be positive.
Right.
It's just something to focus on. Focus on that. That bad thoughts are just bad thoughts, and that good thoughts are what matter.
You're right.
For a little shout out, if you want to shout out any of like the biggest supports besides Fountain Youth on your journey.
My sister,
Yeah.
Heather. I absolutely love her. Nobody's had my back like her. She's not even my biological sister. I don't have a sister. But if I did, if I could pick a sister, that's her. She's always had my back. She's been there for me no matter what. Like when I was on the run, she would hide me out,
Yeah.
Probably not the best thing to do, but that's my sister.
She loves you.
And she absolutely loves me. And, because I was on the run, whenever I wasn't at her house, she would worry. She would blow up my phone. She would make sure I was okay. And I love her for it. I absolutely love her for it. And I couldn't pick somebody better in my life.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, my sister is my biggest influence, I guess. My biggest support, my biggest cheerleader. I absolutely love her. If you're watching this, Heather, I love you so much.
I mean, that's why. Yeah, that's why I asked that question, because it's always good to. Yeah, it's always good to hear that and shout out the people who helped you the most and always showed you the
Unconditional love.
Exactly.
Unconditional. And I mean, me and her don't really fight. I think we got into one fight one time, and I was like out of my mind, just high as hell. And I'm like, "You're doing this," and she's like, "Tamra, shut up and just call me when you're sober."
I guess sometimes that's all you need to say.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I catch myself acting like that, I stop and I'm like, "Tamara, you're doing it again, you fucking stupid psycho bitch, stop." I actually did that the other night.
You gotta keep yourself in check, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I was doing that the other night, and I took this muffin out of the guy I'm seeing his hand, and I was just being crazy, and I threw it all over my apartment. There's just muffin everywhere. And, he went in the other room to kind of avoid me, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh, well, now I gotta clean this up. And I'm sitting there sweeping it all up. I'm like, you fucking did it again, you stupid psycho bitch. Calm the fuck down. What is your problem? And sometimes it gets the best of me. And that's one of my demons that I have to face. And I'm working on it every day. I'm a lot better than I used to be.
I mean, that's what counts.
Right. I
You
remember
gotta keep on your feet forward.
I remember beating up one of my boyfriends because I couldn't find my shoes.
Wow.
Right. I don't want to be that person anymore, so I work on it. I work on it because nobody deserves that. And I do it to myself all the time. Like, I don't self-sabotage, things are going so well. Might as well throw a wrench in it, right? Because it's gonna go bad eventually. Too good to be true, it must not be, right?
So the people who do the same thing that you would do, because it's always easier to give advice to people than it is to take advice. Right. What advice would you give to those people?
Just chill out.
Yeah.
Just chill out. Everything will happen the way it's supposed to, and everything happens for a reason. don't rush things. Don't force anything. If everything will happen in its own time the way it's supposed to, and you'll be a better person for it. Have patience. Yeah. I know you're gonna watch this, so yeah, you're right. I just said that.
That's good advice, though. That's good advice. How often do you tell yourself that advice?
A lot more recently,
Hey, that's good.
because I have another person in my ear saying it to me, which is why I just said what I said. Yeah. I know you're gonna watch this. Yeah, I just say that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because you got to keep that positives around you at all time.
Right.
Like, why put yourself around it any negative if you don't have to?
Right.
Control of your own life. Do anything.
I mean, the guy I'm seeing now, he's been really helping, like, teaching me patience, teaching me a lot of things, like making me more positive when he's not stressing me out.
Yeah.
But
That's
he's-
good, though.
Yeah, he's been actually kind of a godsend.
That's what we all need.
Right.
Somebody you can.
Even when
Really
he's
support
stressing
us.
me out, he's teaching me patience. He's teaching me, like, I don't know if he understands that, but I know I get frustrated with him, but, it's part of the growth process and getting to know somebody, right?
Yeah,
But
definitely.
he's teaching me a lot, whether he knows it or not.
It's a good shout out right there, too. You got a lot of people in your life you can really
Right.
depend upon, and they can depend upon you.
Right.
That's awesome. So as we get close to ending this, one of my final questions is, if you had one message for the entire world, what would it be?
I hate questions like these. Because then, it
I gotta
makes me
make you-
think.
I gotta make you think.
Yeah.
It's good to think.
If I can do it, you can do it. Anything is possible if you try. I mean, there's nothing stopping you but you. So go out there and get it. Whatever your dream is, chase that. I never thought that I would go to school. I mean, my funding fell through, so I couldn't really. I mean, I could have started this semester, but I would have missed my first class. And they didn't tell me until 20 minutes till the second class.
Right.
So I'm just like, just start me in the fall. But either way, I'm going to be starting school. I never thought that was possible. I never thought a lot of the changes that I'm making now were possible, because I just always kind of saw myself living the life that I was, and never settle for less. Never settle for less. Like I said earlier, just go and get it. You want it, go and get it. No one's going to hand it to you. You got to work for it. Anything worth it, you have to work for it. Nothing comes easy.
Yeah. It's good advice. And I think it's something to say about that too, is as you work hard, I think life gets easier in a way.
Right.
So you start to learn a lot more than you ever did about things that you never thought you would ever learn about.
Right.
And it teaches you a lot.
Always observe
Yeah.
people around you and things around you. I say it all the time, where I'm like, keep your eyes open and your mouth shut.
You can learn a lot by doing that, actually.
Right,
I do the
right.
same thing.
Right. Or I do this thing where I tell certain people certain things. Like, I'll tell them all the same thing, but each one gets a different detail to see. It's like a test for
Yeah.
people. Like, when it comes back to me, I'll know who said it based on what they said.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing I do.
Right.
I think that's everything I have for you.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, no, not a
I
problem.
think this podcast can help. This episode can help a lot, because you said a lot of true things, a lot of real things.
Thanks. I try. I
Thank
didn't
you.
go as in depth as I did last time, but we had an hour and 20 minutes of podcast. So,
Yeah. Well, thank you again.
yeah, no, not a problem.